Welcome in, everybody. We're getting started. Give me a second. I had to reboot again. Welcome in, everybody. My name is Josh. This is the Gaming Joy channel, and we are going to be playing some Farm Sim again. We haven't done Farm Sim in a little while. And we're going to get back into probably one of my top 3 game saves right now, and do some time on Judith Plains. Again, I still love this map. I think it's a great map, and it's probably one of the better, from my mind, 4X maps that's out there. And we've got a game save going that's kind of case IH all the way, blah, blah, blah. But we're trying out all the new crops and all the new special crops, and I want to go bigger on those crops before we go and start making some whiskey at the whiskey Jack Daniels plant, which is freaking awesome. But welcome in, everybody. Here we go. Jump in. Only downside with this map is when you start facing a wall. It's kind of boring and poo-poo, right? Why would you want to start facing a wall? That's dumb. I tried to fix it, but I think it's a Giants thing, actually. This house, you always start facing the wall for whatever reason. But anyways, either way, thanks for coming in, and welcome into the new people. Sharehammer, I'm not sure who that is, but welcome in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming along. Bruce's Gaming, J Meister, Mark Haythorn. Come in, everybody. We're back on Judith Plains. Now, if you guys haven't been on Judith Plains in a while, we'll give you the quick 5-cent tour. This is the Copper Creek Farm, which I have made copper. This is not the way it looks normally. I went ahead and recolored all the buildings. I had to go into GE to do that, but I went ahead and recolored all of the buildings to be copper colored because I thought that fit, because it's a Copper Creek farm. Yeah, whatever. So we've got cows over here, sheds, we've got pigs, we've got storage buildings and whatnot. We've got a cool sheep pen over here, and I left the gate open for some reason. And we've got these big open pastures which look really nice. DJ Modding always does a really good job with these pastures. And not only that, one of my favorite parts about this farm is that both the sheep pasture and the cow pasture go underneath the road on this little bridge thing, which is super cool. We've got a silo system over here and more sheds. The only thing I've really added here is this. The couple things that I've added a stone processing plant to get lime, because we do have field stones turned on. Here's our chickens. Even though the chicken pen is here, they're just totally free roaming. And I recolored the harvestor silo in the copper color, and then I added a second one in the steel color facing the other direction. So this one's a silo, this one's a fermenter, and my fermenter actually works with everything. Grass, clover, hay, corn stalks, bean straw, all the things. It ferments the world, which is really great. And then we have our pigs, which are just kind of there. We haven't really done much with the pigs, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway, so that's the farm on Judith Plains, the Copper Creek farm, and we have a bunch of fields. So if we look at our map, it's been a while. We look at our map, we kind of own this area of the map. So we own the field to our right. This field right here is alfalfa. It's a gigantic alfalfa field. We get like 3 million liters or something like that of alfalfa when we harvest it. We have a small field right here, which is yet to be planted. We're probably going to plant that back in barley. We have a lot of barley fields, 46, 30, and 31. Those are all barley fields. We have a very small field over here of, I don't remember, flax. And we have a hemp field here in field 45. And this field over here was, it was like a field 38 was a field of prairie grass, which is my custom crop. And then field 37 was clover. And in between streams, I went ahead and plowed it all together and actually combined it with 143. So we have this, really cool giant field here, kind of going with the contours of the land, using up all of the available space. And this is all going to be prairie grass, which is my custom crop. And not only that, we've updated the prairie grass to FS25 levels, I guess you can say. And so once that grows, it's going to be pretty awesome. Here's the kind of overhead of our farm. We also own this massive field here, this field here. This is the cows that go underneath the road, which is still my favorite thing. Then you have corn and barley and barley and barley. We have lots of barley because we need to make some whiskey. This is our flax. Just see what that looks like when it grows. And this is the hemp field, which is still growing. The hemp takes quite a while to grow. That's just what it is. For the field we harvested last time, we have our Nexat here that we harvested this field with, which was pretty fun. And it's still on lease. We haven't actually bought it yet. We kind of have just barely enough to buy it, but I think I want to get something else today. But we've mulched this field, spread some lime, and it's ready for planting, which we can do in a couple months. I'm not really sure what we're going to plant there, but we're going to plant something. But today, as you can kind of see, we have all this stuff set up for this field here, and around the lumber mill and up over on the hill. This is all going to be a clover field. And so that's what it's going to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next day. We're going to go to the next day because it's already 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're going to get started early. I like the early times in this game, like the 6 to 10 a.m. It's my favorite lighting. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for being here. And we're in the next day. So, anyways, that'll have some weeds until we plant it. Whatever. We went into July. There we go. Thank you. I was like, where's the crop? Why isn't it not showing up? I guess it's just the map being slow. But here's our new prairie grass field, which is going to be fantastic. It looks like our cornfield, which we need for our whiskey production, is growing well. 4 out of 7. And everything else is moving along. The benefit over here, I'm going to tab now. These fields, right? These fields here are now, this is, I don't know why it looks like crap. I think the game just hasn't rendered in or something. This grass kind of looks like crap right now. Did you notice that? It's like super pixely. Whatever, I'm gonna cut it. It is fully grown, but we're gonna cut everything first, and then we're gonna plow and mow and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm gonna get as much. I'm gonna get as much profit off of this field as I can before we change things. So let's go ahead and get mowing. Nope. There we go. We are still in brush hog mode because we mulched the field behind us. Now, a lot of this land wasn't actually, if you play the normal Judith Plains map, a lot of this land was not usable, just because of the way DJ originally did all of the farmlands. And I have gone through and kind of cleaned up the farmlands to the way I want them to be, which makes all of this land usable for farming. It's one thing I don't really get about modders and mod maps is you tend to get a lot of mod maps that are, they don't make use of the land, right? Like they don't make use of, like this land right here was like, you couldn't even get to most of this land. Like you couldn't even, like this forest here, like didn't, I don't know, like the mod maps don't seem to want to make the land usable. I don't really understand that. To me, that's just kind of like, well, then why are you making a farming map? But I get it. You know, they're focused on the fields. They're focused on making the fields farmable, and whether the outside lands or in between lands are farmable or not is not really top priority. But in my mind, from a like, I like to expand my holdings and expand my land and make new fields and all that kind of stuff, right? I always want to be able to expand and create something new and create something different like we're doing today. Like that to me is an important part of this game, and something that I miss anytime a map doesn't allow it. When you get these maps, and it's partially due to the way they change things in FS25, but when you get these maps that the fields are, the farmlands are literally just the fields, and then everything else is not viable. It's just like, okay, well, that means that I'm only playing what the map maker wanted. I'm not playing what I want. I'm playing what the map maker wanted. And to me, that's a little bit boring. Nowhere near as entertaining as being able to do anything you want at any time with every piece of land possible. And so I've gone ahead and edited this map slightly. I mean, let's be honest here. Slightly is an understatement. I've put probably 30 or 40 hours of editing into this map to quote unquote clean it up for my usage. But I've done a bunch of editing to make it playable the way I want to play this series, basically. Now we have to look at this. I don't remember. Okay, so I did include this little area. See this little hill area, and then vertical to 45. Okay. So I did when I edit it. Yeah, it would not be me if it was vanilla. Like, I can't leave anything well enough alone. I just don't have that in me. I try and I try, but in some ways, like my qualifications for a farm sim map to play are, I always look for those maps that, you know, can be played out of the box, be played vanilla, can be played the way the map maker intended. But I always want to have my own spin on it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have my take on it. And so when I look for maps, it's usually along the lines of, is this map worth my time to edit? Or can I, with my knowledge level, which isn't everything for sure, but can I, with my knowledge level, make this map better? And if I can, what can I do that's unique and different that gives this map kind of a fresh take fresh look. Or maybe just fix minor inconsistencies that were created in the map making process that don't align with what I think the map should be. And if so, if that level of editing is worth my time. And I've been trying to hold back on that a little bit lately, because there are a significant number of maps that I have spent the time of editing and fixing all the things and then never played. I was thinking about that yesterday. Like a good example is Westby. Westby, Wisconsin was a really nice 4X map. I forget who did it, but for FS22. And I spent 60 or 70 hours editing Westby. And most of it was fixing farmlands and stuff like that. The old way of fixing farmlands was really, really hard to fix farmlands and the shape of fields and stuff like that, and creating new fields that weren't fields. That was really, really tough in FS22. It's a little bit easier in 25 now that the farmlands are actually vector shapes and not just lots of boxes drawn on top of each other. But it still took a significant amount of time, and since Westby was a 4X map, it took a lot of time, right? And we're not going to want to do all this ourselves. I could do this all myself, but then we spend the whole entire stream mowing. So let's do this. Let's do this. Let's record. We're going to record a field as I drive around the outline of this field. We're going to record a track for courseplay so that I can tell courseplay to do a course and mow this for me. I'm not doing a very good course. I'm going to have to come around and clean up the outside. This course will be kind of the basis for our field. But once we get the mower off, we can start collecting around the outside and actually start mowing, or actually plowing and defining the shape of our field. But yeah, so anyways, I fixed a lot of Westby, and I had this intention of playing Westby, and I actually played, like, this is what I do this a lot. I played like the first couple months of the playthrough that I intended to do, and in some ways the playthrough you're seeing now is the Westby playthrough, because it was intended to be a international case dealership playthrough on Westby. That's what it was supposed to be, right? And then it was a kind of the way I like to play usually, which is starting with almost nothing and building your way up and doing some contracts to make some money and yada yada. I just enjoy playing that way for some reason. But I never ended up playing it. I never ended up finishing that game save, or rather, I never ended up actually doing the game save and playing with all of you. And part of that was just lack of time. Part of it was that I was editing kind of right up to the release of FS25. It took me months and months and months. And editing that map really got the cemented in my mind that if I'm going to spend some time, if the amount of time that I spent fixing Westby, I could have made my own map. And I think that's kind of where 2026 is going to take us. I really want to finish the mods that I have on my plate, get them released on ModHub, and then spend time making an actual map of my own. We've seen a lot of our good friends here in this channel and elsewhere. A lot of people that I know make their first map and get it released on ModHub, which is super awesome to see, and hats off to them for doing it. And I spend a lot of time reviewing maps. Why won't I make my own is the question, and a lot of people have asked. So I think that's going to be the goal for this year, is to actually make my own map. Actually get that done. Mark's asked a good question. Is my GPS of choice enhanced vehicle? I have my gameplay and system, or whatever you want to call it, set up for enhanced vehicle because that's the one that I prefer. And I sometimes will use the base game system. So if I'm coming in and doing work on a field, a lot of times I just hit the H or whatever, hit your worker button, and then let the game do the work. And I don't try to mess with it. I know the game system is kind of, it's not great. It's good, but it's not great. Which is fine. And then I'll use courseplay like I'm doing now for custom fields or fields where I need to go. I need to be able to leave the field and come back. So for instances, such as like spreading lime or fertilizer or something like that, when I know that I'm going to have to leave the course and come back, it's one thing that the giant system doesn't handle well. I will typically use courseplay, and I'll set up a course and then use that course to leave and come back. I haven't actually got into auto drive at all in 25. In my mind, auto drive takes a lot of time to set up, and while it can be useful at times, it can also be frustrating at times, and the amount of work it takes to get started is, in most cases, over and above the level of commitment that I would have when playing a game, especially if I'm playing it for myself. Okay. And then we're here. And then stop recording. Yes, save that as CP1. Okay. And then we're going to come here. How do I create a course? Here. So this is going to be the shape of our new field. See that? That's the shape of our new field. It's a very odd shaped field, especially because of this sawmill. If I had my way, I would take this sawmill and move the sawmill up here in the forest. But I don't really care that much. So if I had thought about that before I started playing this map, I would have, but yeah, I think the sawmill, there's no reason to have the sawmill here in the middle of a field. The sawmill should be with the forest. There's a cool dirt road and a track that comes over into the forest. There should be a sawmill. The sawmill should be right here, but whatever. Okay, so fieldwork settings. These are the settings that I'm going to use. I'm going to set this to be 0. I want it to be up, down. And I don't need 2 headlands. I only need 1 because I've already done a headland. Generate. Okay. And start. I do use the base game one. I do the base game GPS helper system somewhat frequently. He decided to turn around. That's odd. Okay. I don't know why he turned around. I do use the in-game GPS helper system a little bit, but only for prepared fields. And only when I'm not going to be coming back and forth. And we can clean up the outside with our other mower. And all the bits that I missed, I can go in with this mower and get the bits that I missed. And actually probably should be the other way around. This is the one that should be doing the up and downs, not the... We should actually probably switch it out, huh? Yeah, let's switch it out. Just because the Batwing is much better at dealing with contoured land. So I think we're going to use the Batwing for that. Okay, so the way to do that is going to come in here. We're going to go into this guy, enter vehicle. We're going to come down here, copy. And then we're going to paste. And then we're going to enter vehicle here. And we're going to stop him. Right. Actually, I shouldn't have actually. This one's 7.2. You know what? 7.2 and 7. I'll create a new course. Create a new course. Fieldwork settings. Same thing. Manual. Generate. What I have for field margin. No, I didn't want this. Generate. Start. We're gonna let this one do the up and down rows, because it will just do them better. And we're gonna use the Batwing to do the stuff I missed. And we'll clear this one since it doesn't, we don't need it anymore. And of course, since it's me, every bit of grass needs to be mowed. I've been known to even go into the map and move signs to make it easier to mow. Sometimes. You know, I've done that too, Mark. Mark was saying he went to fix some stuff in a mod that's not his own and then submit it back to the modder. I've done that too for a couple of mods. I'm actually playing with a version with a mod that I did that to now. But it's weird. The modding community, some people in the modding community take offense when you fix their stuff. Some people in the modding community just don't like it. They don't like when you make something better that they could have figured out on their own. Other people are like, oh cool, sure, I'll incorporate your changes, or take Loki, for example, when he was working on the original version of Universal Autoload for 22. I submitted a bug fix for him to fix something that was not working right. There he is. I'm like making sure that guy is working correctly. And he went ahead and incorporated it into the game, into the mod. And little bits and pieces. I've gotten some really great conversations with some modders and helped them out building something they were trying to do, or even help them solve a problem they couldn't figure out how to solve. But there's been some other modders that I've reached out to that were like, no, I'm not doing that. Don't touch my mod, it's mine. Which is, it's definitely unfortunate, but it is what it is. I can get that way myself about my own mods, and don't want people messing with them. But I always take suggestions. And if you're willing to work with me on something, I'm always willing to help out, but don't just take my stuff and do what you want with it. That's not cool. I remember in 22, I did the same thing Mark did, where I was messing with sorting out the GUI for a mod, where I was playing on a multiplayer server, and I think they were using VCA, and they didn't like the color. The person who is the main person who is controlling the multiplayer server, he had a vision problem, and he's like, I don't like the color that they're using for the lines. And so I went in and changed it, or I made it an option that can be configured. I think that's what players, what we want as players, we want the ability to customize things, right? We want the ability to make things our own. And I think that's one of the kind of, not as tenants. I don't know if tenant is the right, do I own this land yet? I do. I don't know if it's really a tenant. That's maybe not the right word. But one of the things that we as players come to expect in Farm Sim, with our tractors and equipment and all that kind of stuff, like, we expect the ability to customize. We want the ability to customize. We always want to customize. If I'm going to make a tractor, I want to make my tractors black. If I can't make it black, then I'm probably not going to use that tractor. You know what I mean? Like, we want the ability to customize. We want things to look the way we want it to look. Whether that's looking crazy pants, like Rambo Hacker and Gold Gaming's new multiplayer save, where everything is kind of Joker colors, like purple and green. And it looks all crazy pants, but that's what they wanted, so go for it. But we want the ability to customize. And then but then at the same time, a lot of mods, whether there are script mods or vehicle mods, some of them take the farm sim tactic, which is the way farm sim wanted to build the game, which is, no, you can't customize because that's not real. That's not realistic. That's not, the brand doesn't want to have a black tractor. It's a red tractor because, damn it, it's a Case IH tractor, so there's no way it should ever be black. Like, why would you have a black tractor? That doesn't make sense. They don't want it to be customizable. Which is, you know, kind of a bummer, really. Yeah, I thought of you, Bruce, when they did it. I'm like, huh. When I first started watching Bruce's streams, I remember giving Bruce a hard time for having Joker colored tractors. Or being like, I remember making some kind of weird comment back in the day about the Joker colored tractors. That's how Bruce and I got to know each other, actually. But yeah, they're doing Joker colors. And then not only are they doing Joker colors, but they're doing like clown colors for some stuff, where it's Joker colors plus 10 other colors, making it look as horrible as it can. Oh, that's good. See, that's what I'm talking about, Mark, is, you know, accommodating more players, accommodating the way people want to play. The reason there's so many options in the contract boost mod is because the way I want to play is not necessarily the way everyone wants to play. And I understand that. And I understand that not everyone is going to want to play with my settings. And so the default settings are what I would play with, or what I feel like the feature of the mod should showcase when you start using it. But they're not necessarily the settings for everybody. And I understand that. So I made everything customizable and configurable. And when someone reached out and said, hey, your menu is slowing down my server, I made a change to make it so that the menu, whether the menu is there or not, was customizable. You know, like little stuff like that. Like, oh, I want to be able to use, like, I made a change in there. There's a harvest contracts on most maps will prefer, not prefer, but depending on the season, you'll see like red beet, carrot, parsnip contracts. You'll see tons of those contracts. And if you're not the kind of person who likes doing those kind of contracts, in all honesty, if you're only seeing 5 harvesting contracts, and all 5 of them are contracts you don't want to do, that's not fun. That's, you know, potentially not the way you want to play. Now, something's going on here. What? Why are you stopped? What happened to you? Why did you stop in the middle of nowhere? Maybe I'll slow it down. Maybe he's going too fast. He's not understanding how to turn at high speeds. These swather things sometimes have issues because of the front wheel steering, rear wheel steering thing. Like the game engine tries to see us, so the game engine tries to spin around or make turns, and sometimes it just doesn't make those turns very effectively. It's good for up and downs, but not so good for other things. Exactly. And I think that Mark's got a good point, is that, and this is a software development thing, is you got to keep in mind when answering requests from people what your goal is, right? You always have to keep in mind what your goal is and what you feel the goal of the mod or the thing that you're building is. And if someone's request doesn't align with that goal or will overcomplicate it, you have to be willing to say no. I've gotten dozens of requests for contract boosts to do certain things that because it's the only thing that does anything remotely close to that feature that they're looking for, then they think that it's the only way to do it. And in some ways, some of those features I've added, but some of them I've said, nope, that's not really what I'm trying to do. Or there's other mods that do that thing, and I'm not going to replicate what someone else did. That swather is like drunk. Look at him. He can't keep a straight line to save him. Dude, you're not following the line. I was hoping he was going to be able to move faster, but it looks like he can't move past his normal slower speed. Oops, wrong way. Oh well. So yeah, keeping it simple is I think keeping it simple is always good, especially from an options and settings perspective. But you know, make sure you're being true to what you're trying to build. He's still on New Year's Eve. Who's on New Year's Eve? Oh, the mower. I get it, Bruce. Yeah, he's definitely he had a little bit too much to drink for New Year's, and he's not driving a straight line. It would help if I put my mower down. The Batwing with these type of open front wheel, two-wheel drive tractors is literally the best combination that you can have for using the Batwing. Look at this line. Look at this, like, whatever this guy was doing. I don't know what he was doing. He was not being very effective at following a line. But because these tractors can turn on a dime, and because they have so much extra kind of play, these are much better than four-wheel drive tractors when using this Batwing mower. Because I can do a complete 180 and keep the Batwing mowing. Seriously? Look at this guy. It's like he can't make a corner. Can you see the line here? He's like, I don't know what he was doing. I'm just doing cleanup here. farmer coder, yeah, maybe all-wheel steering. But the game has a hard time with front axle steering, because it's basically controlling turning like a skid steer. And the logic for courseplay, and I mean, look at this. The whole outside border is foobar because this guy can't drive in a straight line. Like, look at this. The whole entire border was messed up. Hopefully he does better at straight lines, the up and downs, than he was doing at the outside border. I may have to switch it back to this vehicle. Once I finish cleaning up these outside areas. I tried to do this area with the swather and it didn't work. Because the way the swather, it just doesn't deal with contoured land as well as the Batwing does. Everything can't be as awesome as the Batwing, I guess. That's the moral of the story. What is he doing? Alright, we're gonna have to switch it back. I loved starting off the game with that swather. I'm a big fan of those swather type vehicles, but that's just silly at this point. I'm just watching what he's doing on this end here. And he's spending the AI is spending a lot of time turning around. I guess now he's sort of going in straight lines. He's gonna struggle right there. Did I totally mess it up? I think he's gonna do okay. I have to fix this abomination. Look at this. And I think it's all because I put the speed up. I tried to put the speed up to a little bit higher. It's my fault. He can't keep a straight line. Certain vehicles just can't keep a straight line when you increase their working speed. They're just trying to course correct nonstop. At least it's a consistent course correction. I guess. Like the whole way. Like he didn't pause and course correct. That almost feels like I should be reporting that to the courseplay team. Because that's a courseplay thing. That's not a Giants thing. That's a courseplay thing. The courseplay, it should detect when it's seesawing like that. I don't know if that's the right word, but he should detect when he's seesawing like that and like pause, stop, straighten out, and then continue. Oh yeah, we're not worrying about bailing this. That's for sure. All right, we're gonna replace that guy with this one, just because I think it's gonna be more consistent. I don't need this tractor for anything else right now. Okay, let's do this. Let's create the course again. Generate course. Yep, that's fine. Just realized there's no music playing. Oh, I picked the wrong one. Almost. The other thing is that the Batwing can move at 25 miles an hour consistently without dying. This one just like it didn't understand. And even I have some hard time driving that thing sometimes. Did I miss anything? All right. Let's bail and then, or not bail. Let's clean up the borders and then we'll start plowing the outline of our field. This is going to be a weird field. I think we're going to have courseplay problems with it, but, you know, whatever. Let's tab through. I do have the quick switcher on, which apparently is a mod for quick switching between vehicles, but I don't know how to use it. Can't load resource. Oh. The prairie grass HUD is missing. Okay. We're just going to VPW all this grass and not care about the workers' incredibly bad lines. Normally, I would just bale this and pick up all the bales. That's what I've been doing on my other save. So, I don't know if you guys saw the prairie grass, not prairie grass, the alfalfa tutorial that I did about a week ago, maybe a week and a half now. On that map, which is a map called Valachi, which is set in like the Ukraine, Russia area. And I've been playing that one on my own. I've actually been playing that on my Mac. And for that one, I'm actually going through and mowing everything, windrowing everything, baling it, and then picking up the bales, and transporting bales, versus this one where I'm, you know, just using VPW and an Unreal capacity trailer to pick up the ridiculous amounts of grass. And part of the reason I'm doing it that way for this playthrough is uh-oh. I just realized the error in my ways. Come over here. These are going the wrong way. So we're going to clear, generate. And I want these going that way. Yeah, that's correct. So now they're going the right way. See, before they were going the wrong way. Green, red, green, red. Now they're going the other way. Because I wanted this guy going from this side of the field to the other side. I want him going from here over that direction. Yeah, now he's going the right way. He was going the wrong way. He was like trying to mow stuff that had already been mowed. The way I look at it, when you're doing a 4X map, unless you have like unlimited time on your hands, playing realistic when playing by yourself on a 4X map, for me, I think is more time than I have to dedicate to playing. You know what I mean? Like, even harvesting a 4X scale field, right, by yourself is, without using Unreal capacities, I'm not saying it's not doable, and I'm not saying it's not realistic. I'm just saying I don't have time for that. You know what I mean? Like, I play this game to have fun, and I play this to have some level of enjoyment and fill my time with, you know, doing something that's interesting to me. And spending all my time with a non-unrealistic capacity trailer, going back, like if I was cleaning up this field with this trailer, this trailer by default has like 40,000 liter capacity, right? Which is fine. But if I was picking up all of this grass with a 40,000 liter capacity trailer, I'd spend all of my time going back and forth, right? And I get that. That's I understand that. But in many cases, picking up the grass is secondary to what I'm trying to do. Does that make sense? It's part of it, but it's not where I want to focus my time. So I tend to play the realistic-ish, just like Bruce says. I will play realistic where I'm getting something out of playing realistic. If that makes sense. If I'm getting something out of playing realistic at that moment, then I will play realistic. If I'm getting enjoyment from the work, I'll play realistic. Hell, I spent a couple hours the other day when I was testing Geistal mowing an entire field with a ride-on mower. It had a 1.3, 1.4 meter working width. It's like, it took forever, but I was enjoying it. I was having fun doing it. You know, that's the reason why I tend to use fermenting silos, because you're getting an immediate feedback. You're getting immediate results from the fermentation process. Where if you're using a bunker silo or you're using bales, it takes longer. And on that same play, the Valachi playthrough, I'm doing bales and wrapped bales. So I'm wrapping bales and all kind of stuff. And wrapped bales take a long time to ferment in base game. Like, they take a long time to ferment. And I'm sitting there like 2 months in now, having wrapped some bales, and they still haven't fermented yet. And I'm like, come on, I just want to buy new equipment. Oh, year 8. Oh my goodness. Year 8 of French Docks. That's a 4X map too, right? Right, Mark? Yeah, 44 bills. Yeah. You find, I mean, I think that the one of the things I love about this game is, especially with all the mods in the modding community, you find time and find ways you can play the game however you want. And it's always up to you to drive into a tree, because that was the best way to turn around. The hell? Workers are funny. 4411K bales. Yeah, exactly. You're picking up a significant amount of product at once. You're still doing the work, and you're doing it to the level that you want to do, but you're maximizing your time and effort. And I love the fact that Farm Sim and the modding community, and this is what I try to contribute to, is I try to, whenever I can, contribute to letting people play the way they want to play. And in many cases, I'm actively removing limitations that Giants put on the player base that I don't think need to be there. Right? Like the one that I just worked on last weekend, which is enabling default colors. It's a simple change, but like when I go to customize a tractor, right? If I come in, I want to buy, where's the base game tractor? I want to buy this Landini, right? By default, you can only pick these two shades of blue. You can't customize. You can't pick your own custom color. Like, that's boring, right? And I want to be able to come in like this, use this Linder track. And yes, we have the Linder red as the default color, but then I have all of the default colors, all of these colors. And because I have default colors, I also have this part. This comes as soon as you have the default colors. You don't need that extra mod anymore. So as soon as you have the ability to have default colors, you have the ability to customize. And so I like the ability to customize and make things, you know, the way I want, to play the way I want, when I want to. If I think there should be, I shouldn't be limited to only 3 contracts at a time, then I shouldn't be limited to 3 contracts at a time. Like, that's an arbitrary limitation. If I want to play a gameplay where I'm running a contracting business, I don't want to be limited to only being able to run 3 contracts at any given time. That's an artificial limitation, right? What's some of the other stuff that or like, if I want to play and I don't want NPCs on the map, then I don't want NPCs. Yes, I know Giants loves their NPCs, and adding the NPCs is cool because it gives some new gameplay and dialogue elements and makes it seem more like a game that might have a storyline attached to it. Oh, I forgot to mow this. But maybe I don't want to see them. So that's why I'm releasing a mod, or I'm trying to get it released, even though Giants promised that they would touch every single mod that was submitted before the 14th, before the holidays. Yeah, they didn't do what they said they were going to do. My mod, which was definitely submitted before the 14th, was submitted on the 12th, hasn't been touched. It's now January 3rd, hasn't been looked at all. So they did not do what they said they were going to do. Whatever. I'm not bitter. I knew it was going to happen. But so I'm releasing a mod that allows people to just hide the NPCs. I don't want to see NPCs. Walter staring at me, creeping on me. And I think I put I think I used the word creeper or stalker, one of those two, in the description. And the guy who does my translations for me, Timmy, he does my German translations. He's like, I don't think they're gonna like that. I'm like, I don't care. The NPCs are creepy. They just kind of stare at you. They are creepy. So I added a mod to be able to remove the NPCs. And they're not removed, they're not gone. I know some other content creators have released tutorials on how to remove NPCs, how to remove Grandpa. They're not removed. They're still there. We're not editing base game files. We're not even editing any files. They're just, you just can't see them anymore. That one on King Leg, yeah. With Grandpa standing outside where you can go inside the building. And then when you go inside the building, he's like looking through the windows at you. That's super creepy. Oh, look, the flax is flowering. Whoa, whoa. See, even I can't drive this thing in a straight line. I'm gonna have to stay with this, the default 17 kilometers an hour. Oh, we have $1.1 million suddenly. Silage must have sold, or the electricity from the BGA must have sold. I was like, suddenly I went from not having any money or having like $750,000. Now I have 1.1. I mean, would a farmer take the time to cut the grass if that grass was useful? Would they take the time to cut this type of property in real life? I don't think they would. I think they would just leave it growing because it would be too weedy to do anything with. Okay, I can't do that. I think they would. If they can make profit on any piece of land. But at the same time, I think most farmers, their fields would go straight up to the signs. Like right up to the edge of the property. They wouldn't leave big, huge grassy areas in between fields. I think they would use every bit of land, I guess. It also depends on like the level of effort it would take to use that. Okay. So the telephone poles don't have collisions, but the Tim Hortons billboard does. I actually went through on this map and edited all the telephone poles that are near the main farm so that they have collisions. Because it bothered me that they didn't have collisions. Like, if I want to run into a dang telephone pole, I want to run into a dang telephone pole. I don't want the game to tell me, no, this is not a run-inable telephone pole. Run-inable? Is that even a word? No. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Am I... This thing does pretty good at zooming at high speeds if you're going in a straight line. Don't try to turn at those speeds, though. I'm just driving the tractor forward. Yeah, I think they would maximize the useful area. I agree, guys. I agree. I think they would maximize the useful area and leave as little unused land as possible, because every square meter of land is profit. You know, it's part of your profit margins. You wouldn't leave big gaps. The flax looks good. I always like seeing maps with like flax or poppy or some of those brighter colored flowered crops. Mustard, lavender. Just because it adds a little bit more vibrance into the game, even if it's only for a month during their harvest season. As much as I like those prefabs, I think those prefabs are making lazy modders. You know how there's that prefab map that came out? It's like it's a 1x map that has all of those extra crops already added. I feel like that map, while I love the prefab and I love the extra crops, it means that you get a significant number of map makers who aren't really thinking about what they're doing. Because they just started off with all these extra crops on the map, but they don't actually do anything with those crops. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're not taking the time to think about, oh, I have this new crop. What should I do with it? If the player is harvesting this crop, what can they make with the results of harvesting this crop? Can they sell it at a sell point? Do I need to make a special sell point? Can they turn this into flour? Is this a crop that can be turned into flour? Is this a crop that can be turned into a food source of some kind? I think that little extra, those extra crops are kind of letting modders be really lazy, and they're like, oh, I have extra crops. Yay. I can call it out on my mod desk that I have 10 extra crops. But they don't actually do anything with them. So did you really add 10 extra crops, or did you just, you know, skimp out? Alien. Oh, so that's a good question, Mark. I should remind my wife about that. My wife is a big Aliens. I like Aliens, obviously. She's a bigger fan for Aliens in that series, I think, than I am. So I should remind her about Alien Earth. We haven't watched it yet. And a new Stargate? A new Stargate sounds fun. The one I'm looking for, actually, looking forward to, is, and I hope it turns out as good as the book was, is Hail Mary, which is coming out soon-ish. I don't remember when it's coming out, but I'm looking forward to that. The book for that was awesome. And I'm really hoping the movie does it justice. Oh yeah, Monarch was good. We went through and when we watched Monarch, we went and watched all of them. So we're like, okay, Monarch, where does Monarch sit in the overall timeline of where does Monarch, we figured it out, we went online, figured it out. Where does Monarch sit in the overall timeline of the Monsterverse, I think it's called. Okay, now we're gonna watch them all in order. So watching all of the the Kong and what's it called? What's the other one? Kong and I forget his name now. Yeah, we watched them all in order, and included the Legacy of Monsters. It was good. It's really interesting to kind of combine them and see the whole story. Godzilla, thank you. I couldn't think of his name for a second. Yeah, hey Kansas, welcome in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming along. We are waiting for a worker, and so while we're waiting for the worker, we're maximizing our profits by mowing every little piece of grass that we own. And since that we're on a 4X map, we own a lot of grass. Boop-a-doop. More grass the better, of course. For me at least. Not everyone likes grass mowing as much as I do. To me it's cathartic. By the way, I'll show you guys the new prairie grass in a minute. Hey, Relux. Welcome in. So I did figure out something new with crops recently. I figured out how to have multiple crops in a single file. And I learned it indirectly through another map. I'm like, how do they do that? That doesn't make sense. But I learned how to make multiple crops in a single file, or multiple variants of a crop in a single file, which is incredibly useful when you're building crops. And I'll show you what I mean once we can show off the prairie grass. Whoa. Of course I don't have access to the street. No map has access to the street. Ah. Once you lose it on these things, like once you lose your straight line, it's gone. It's so hard to get back. You can see why the NPCs have such a hard time with it. Oops. Alright, we're done mowing. That's it. I'm not going to mow anymore. I'm sure there's plenty more to mow, but I'm done. Alright. We've had enough. We've had enough. Let's make sure our worker is not stuck behind a tree somewhere. Yep, he's stuck behind a tree. How did I know? I just knew. I'm like, I haven't heard movement from that guy in a while. He must be stuck behind a tree. What are you doing in the forest? What are you doing, dude? Why are you driving in the forest? You haven't even made it very far. I've done 10 times as much work as you have. No, no. Here. This is your line. You should be done by now. And instead you're turning around in the forest. Pain in my butt. Hey, Rusty. Welcome in. Thanks for being here. All right. Oh. 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 Okay, that's where you're going to end up. I'm just going to leave it there. All right, let's pick up all that grass we just mowed and then keep it. We're going to keep an eye on that worker to make sure he doesn't start to drive in the forest again. It's one of the course play settings that still doesn't work to this day. That I think that the Giants AI does a little bit better than course play, in all honesty, and I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, but Giants' AI is better at staying within the field boundaries when making turns. Like if I'm doing a course with 2 headlands, I'm giving the worker enough room to turn around within the boundaries of the field. That's why I'm doing it, right? Like that's why you do headlands. So if that's the case, then the worker should be restricted to turning around within the boundaries of the field. And Courseplay still has a problem with that. It does it all the time where it tries to go outside the boundaries of the field when it's making its turns. And that just doesn't make sense. Like that's not, I don't know why. It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. But, you know, I'm not on the Courseplay team, nor do I want to be. So I will just, you know, do my best to provide feedback to them and let them figure out what's going on. Can we see the worker? Is he stuck behind a tree again? I can't see him. Where is he? No, he's still going. Still going. It's been an entire stream of just grass mowing. Not what I intended for today, but, you know. When you're making big fields, it takes big work to make your big fields. Boop, boop, boop. Can I make it through here? I don't think I can. Let's try. Oh, I can. Look at that. I can make it through there. Oh, really? Ray? Only Bruce and Rusty can call you Raymond? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Welcome in, Raymond. Thanks everyone for being here. Thank you for coming along, and thank you for chatting. Greatly appreciate it. I literally own, I think at this point I own almost, because like if you look at the way the map is built, this section here, this section is a little, just a little bit bigger than a normal size map. So if you look at what I own, compared to like a normal map, because this is a 4x map. I literally own as much land as I would own if I owned an entire map. Oh, I'm full. Look at that. So I'm farming an entire normal size map right now. Like this is huge. Look at it. Like this is a 4x map. So if you think of, if you separate it into quadrants, the middle of the map is somewhere right along here, right along this line right here and there. And I own 2/3 of a full size map. It's a lot of land. Is my worker in a tree again? Yep, he's in a tree again. Come on, dude. Stay out of the trees. I think it's because I only did one headland. I will come back and fix this later. When they get stuck in that up and down, where they're just doing an up and down for reasons. Yeah, see, the worker doesn't even know what to do here because there's a fence. Nope, not wrong one. I'm doing great. We're having a fun time on this map, trying to get workers to do work. And I have too many vehicles. I get to a point where I tab through like 5 vehicles. I'm like, and then I remember that I can use the map to get through vehicles. So sorry, Rusty, you and Bruce and a couple of the people in Crustu and them all got sick. I got real lucky this year. Past 2 years in a row, I was sick during Christmas. And I got lucky this year, I was not sick during Christmas. While I'm driving across the map again, I'm going to look at my productions. How are we doing? Silage. We still have 895,000 liters of silage. My fermenting silo is actually full. Hold on. Can't have that. My fermenting silo is full. We need to empty it out or else it's not going to stop producing. So we have too much silage to produce. There we go. Oh, you know what? I was working on Angela Whispering last night too, Rusty. Trying to get ready to record. The amount of time it's going to take for that thing to fill, I can finish driving. I'm still toying with the idea of removing the sawmill. Just because it's in my way. I just don't feel like the sawmill fits there. I don't know what you guys do. I'll put up the vote. I'll let you guys vote on it. Let's vote. Is it worth my time to move the sawmill or not? I mean, I'm not really planning on doing any forestry, so I could just delete it from the map. But technically, just because it's me, I'll probably move it to somewhere in a forest. So that's what I was thinking. Like, that field will look much better if the sawmill's not there. And the removing part is not the hard part. Removing's easy. Delete. The hard part is actually finding somewhere else to put it. And then, because I'm probably going to have to move trees, is where else to put it and how to get that to align with the land, and then terraforming, and that's the hard part. So I'm not gonna, I won't remove it. Let's just say I'm not gonna remove it. I'm gonna gently ask the owner of that sawmill to get out of my field. Or my future field. And I'm going to tell him, you're a sawmill. You should be in the forest. Go in the forest. So what I'll do is, I believe the sawmill, if I'm lucky, actually, the sawmill should be a placeable. Should be. And the worker should not try to drive through the forest. Stop driving off the field to turn around. What is wrong with this guy's settings? Only turning in on the field. Activated. Loop turn on headland. Instead of performing a normal turn on the headland, the vehicle will drive a loop. I don't know what that means. Seriously. I'm gonna have to monitor this a little bit closer, which is unfortunate because I don't want to, but I'm gonna have to. So I think, so if we talk about it moving the sawmill, what I'm going to have to do, which is an incredible amount of work, is because I would bet that this sawmill is part of the map, right? It's part of the map itself. And so I'm going to have to turn that whole entire thing into a placeable. And then I'm going to have to clear a portion of this forest. No, no, stay inside the field. I don't want to have to watch this the entire time. How do I fix this? Five votes and 6 watching. Yeah, exactly. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm redoing this course. Maybe it's because I only have one headland. So let's go to 2 headlands. What is narrow field? Oh, that's interesting. I've never seen that setting before. Settings for the headland. Number on a corners, coordinates, setting center. Generate. I'm waiting, by the way. I'm just waiting for this thing to finish generating. Why is it not generating? Clear. Oh, I'm outside the field border. Maybe that's why. Why is it not generating? Come on. Generate. 2 headlands. Figure it out. There we go. Alright. Now we're going to do this. And please say it lines up. Nope. Whatever. I'll fix it later. Now the question is, I switched it to 2 headlands instead of 1. He's going the wrong direction. That's fine. All I care about is he's not trying to turn in the forest. He's trying to turn in the field. So I changed the number of headlands. He's going to miss bits every time he turns around. So you know what I think it is, actually? when you're driving the tractor, and I think this is where the logic is. I always try to mentally try to fix things in my head, right? So what's going on with Courseplay is Courseplay, when it's doing the turns and it's calculating the turns, Courseplay has an internal setting, I believe. There's an internal setting somewhere in the Courseplay settings that says only use 80% of the steering lock. So it can only turn the wheels this far. Instead of this far, you can only turn the wheels this far. And so when it's making turns, it's calculating how wide those turns have to be based off the steering lock, like how far you can turn your wheel. And that, which is a number in the game settings. In the game settings, in your Ackerman steering configuration, there's a number, 35 or 40 usually. 40 is really 40 degrees, 45 degrees, right? 35 degrees is not very much, right? Most cars are they're about 35 degrees. Most tractors, I should say, in the game are about 35 degrees. Some of them are 40, some of them are 45. You get harvesters. One of the cool settings to change on a harvester is to set the Ackerman steering to like 50. Oh, I just messed it up again. I have to generate again. One of the fun settings for a harvester is to set the Ackerman steering to like 50 or 60, which means it'll turn on a dime. Anyways, the Ackerman steering configuration to set the how far the wheels can turn. Courseplay has a setting that says, okay, if the setting is 35, I can only use, I being Courseplay, can only use 60% of that or 80% of that. Right? I can't use all of it because that would be rude or that would just not work. I can only use 80% of that steering radius to make sure that I don't get into a steering lock situation. Right? And so for a tractor like this that has a really steep angle, Courseplay isn't using all of that turning radius. And so it ends up making these really wide looping turns for no reason because it's not using the full steering radius. Does that make sense? And so I think that's actually what's happening. And so when it's trying to make this turn, it knows how far it has to go, but it also knows that it has to get back to the next line. And so it's making a kind of looping turn. See the looping turn it's starting to make within the boundaries of where it needs to turn based on how tightly it can turn the wheel. And then it does that. So the other thing you can do in this kind of situation to keep it from doing that, and we should do that now actually, is skipping rows. So if you're having this problem, which only happens when you're going to go back to the same row, I'm going to finish this row and then change the setting. The other thing to do to make sure it doesn't do that looping turn, which takes it outside the field boundaries, is to skip a row. So it'll do every other row, and then we'll have to come back and do it the other direction. So cancel that. Let's fix the course again. Boop. Fieldwork settings. Rows to skip 1. Generate. Okay. Now it'll go down the same row. Let's just do this. We're going to let it mow the same row again, even though it doesn't need to. But this time, when it makes the turn at the end, it's going to go to the next row over instead of trying to come back on the very next. Like, it'll go. So if we're on row 0, the one to our left is -1. The one to the left of that is -2. It's going to go from 0 to -2, -4, -8, right? And you can see that from the way it's doing the lines. And by doing that, it will prevent the worker from turning outside the field. So here it's going to go hard left. it shouldn't loop as far outside the field boundaries. And then it's just keep going. So this will actually create a better course that'll be more kind of within the boundaries of what we want to do. So if you're messing with courseplay and you want to do that, one of the benefits of courseplay over the in-game workers is in-game workers can't skip rows. They can't do every other row. They can't do every third row. They can't. It's not in the logic. That's one of my favorite benefits of courseplay, is that I can fix things like this by letting it skip rows, and part of the overall course will be that it'll come back and get the rows that it missed. It'll just come back in the other direction. So there it is. Yep, and it also depends on the implement, the number of headlands, and there's so many things you can tweak with courseplay that you can't tweak with the in-game GPS. So I will only typically use in-game GPS for things that I don't need to tweak, and I know that I don't need to tweak, like spreading fertilizer. I almost always use the in-game system for spreading fertilizer, as long as I have a large supply of fertilizer on the vehicle. Because, you know, it's doing these big swaths of 20 to 30 to 40 meters or whatever. You can make these big looping turns, but if you're doing this up and down really tight back and forth, it has problems. Can you skip rows of the in-game worker? Let's find out. We'll go back and fix that portion that we skipped up here. And I'm not going to create a field today. I will create the field off stream once I move the sawmill. Oh, Farmer Mike. Hashtag for Farmer Mike in the chat. Thank you, Farmer Mike. Welcome in. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support. I don't know what that is in Danish krones. I'm assuming it's like $5 or something like that. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate any support to the channel. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. At least now my worker's not driving in the trees. $89 Danish money. Yeah, I recognize the currency, the Danish krone, right, Mike? That was called a krone. DKK. For my day job, I sometimes work with international currencies and making sure those international currencies properly get converted or translated or rendered properly. All right, well, so we've talked about this. Whoa. Oh, thank you so much. Either way, Mike, thank you so much for the support. I greatly appreciate it, buddy. So we're going to have to recreate this sawmill and move it. And I don't think I'm going to recreate it. I think this is a very complex shaped sawmill, and I don't really want to redo it. So we're going to do... Let's figure out where to put it while we're waiting for other things. Now, I'm actually going to have to head out because I have to take my... I have to go pick up my car at the shop, and they close at noon. I think I'm just going to put it right here in the middle of this forest. Like right here in the middle of this forest. There's already a road. See, the road comes in here. And this space in between that edge of the road and that edge of the road, that sawmill would fit perfect. Just going to put it right here inside the forest. And that way I don't have to delete very many trees. I can just delete the trees. I don't have to worry about cutting them down. And then I can take this whole thing and just place it as one item right here. Is too large for the function? Yeah. I could rebuild it and make it smaller, and I could make it less complex or something, but that would take more work, which I don't want to do. I just want to take it as is. So let's look. It's about the middle of the screen here. And if we don't change our viewpoint, just rotate. Yeah. See, it fits right there in the middle, right between those two roads. And it fits perfect. It'll fit right there. Right there. So that's where the sawmill's going to go. I'm just going to put it right there in the middle of the forest. Is it flat? Please tell me it's flat. It looks pretty flat. Not completely flat. It looks pretty flat. Yeah, that's where the sawmill's going. All right, we're going to move the sawmill. So what I'll do is see how he's skipping rows perfectly fine now. He's not driving in the trees. See, I should have done that in the beginning instead of fighting with him the whole time. So what we're going to do is we will let this guy finish mowing. We'll pick up all the grass, and then we'll move the sawmill, and then we'll plow this into one big field, including the area of the sawmill. So that'll actually look really cool. It'll be lots of farm area and field area. And yeah. All right. You guys want to see the grass. I know you want to see the grass. All right. So we're going to come in here. I'll come back in here and do that later today. Quit. And then we're going to come down to here. I just saw your screenshot of what you own, Mark. That's pretty insane. That's a lot of land on that map. One of the things I liked about that map that Mark's playing on, French Docks, is you can own pretty much everything. And I think that's something I look for when I look for maps. For sure. Come on, load. So this is the same map, same game save, same everything. Not the same game save. This is a completely different game save. But the same map. And so we've set up so that I can test the new prairie grass. I've set it up to show you guys what it looks like. Now I noticed that the distance texture looks kind of like crap. I'm gonna have to fix the distance texture. So anyways, this is prairie grass right here. And it's still loading in, it's still rendering in, it's a little bit low res, give it a minute. But these are the different heights. So this is the cut height right here. This is growth stage 1, growth stage 2, and harvest ready, right? This is the harvest ready state, right? Pretty cool. And then there's also In the same file, which is really cool, there is a short version with multiple stages and a tall version with multiple stages. Now, of course, these are still rendering they're low resolution for some reason. I don't know why. My system is being dumb. These look much better when they're full res. But this is the tall version, right? And they all have cut states. Growth stage 1. Growth stage 1 is right here. Growth stage 2, which you can actually start mowing at, and growth stage 3. Now, the really cool thing about it is these are all paintable. Why am I going into this menu? I don't want to go in the character menu. How do I get to the vehicle menu? Vehicle. Q. I can't get into the freaking paint menu. What's going on? I don't want that menu. No, it's like the control key is stuck down or something. There we go. I don't know what's going on. We go into construction menu, right? The cool thing is they're all paintable. So I put these down by painting them. So I made all of the different levels of prairie grass paintable. So this is your normal prairie grass, small, medium, large. There actually is a secret extra large that is not paintable, but you have the cut state, you have state 2, state 3, or state 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And all of them are paintable. And then this is the short, cut, small, large, harvest ready, and then this is the tall. And the game crashed. What the hell? But anyways, let's see if I can get back into it. Well, the cool thing is, and this is the part that for me is really enjoyable. This is a new thing that I've learned that you can do now. Is that if it's painted down or if it's on the map, and you paint the short or the tall, and then you mow it, it grows back as short or tall. But they all mow the same, right? But the cool thing is based on one of the new settings that Giants added, I can configure that when you mow it's configured so that when you mow the short one, you get less product than when you mow the medium one. And then when you load the tall one, you get more. So I've configured all of them so that you get slightly more or slightly less depending on the height. But the cool thing is they grow back the same height. So if you wanted to make a very varied crop field that looks kind of crazy when you're making a map, you can use the map making scripts to paint down different heights of prairie grass, so that when you mow them, they grow back the same. Now, I actually learned it partially from Judith Plains. So one cool thing it's hard to tell, you don't know. But if we look at Judith Plains, here, construction. If we look at the meadow, do you see these bushes? Even if you mulch those bushes, they come back. This is the first map that's ever done it. So what he's done is there's two types of meadow on this map. Meadow that includes bushes and meadow that doesn't include bushes. It all mows as meadow. It all mows the same. But this one, even if you mulch these bushes, I'm pretty sure they come back in that same position. Like the bush doesn't move over here. It's always this spot. And what it is that this spot, this square of meadow here, is meadow with bush. And so it will render a bush of some kind. It's a random one because of the way random things work. But it'll always mow that way. And this is one of the only maps that uses that logic. And so if I take that logic like this, and I come in here, and if I paint, if I come in here, not paint, not trees, plants, and I do this one, right? We're here. I have a field of prairie grass, right? The tall prairie grass. And if I come in here and use this one, and you can't really see it, but let's say I make these like kind of swaths of around it to give it some like height difference, right? This is the short. Now I'm just doing it with the mouse and it's not going to look great. That's the short. This is the normal. Now we go look at it, right? This is the cool part about it, is that if I make a map and I place down prairie grass as a decorative object or as a crop, it's going to detect it all as a crop. But if I go into the middle of it, right, where we go in here where the heights are different, there's patches, see, there's patches of shorter and longer and taller, right? More like how real grass would grow, where there's actually good significant height differences in certain patches. It will always grow like this. I could mow it, and when it grows back, it'll grow back in those same patches. And logically and realistically, that's based on the ground, right? It's based on the dirt. You have patches of dirt that are going to be better than other patches of dirt. So you're not going to get a perfectly even crop. So it'll actually grow back like that. Now it only works if you paint it down. So if you plant it, you're just going to get the normal one. But if you paint it down, it'll grow back and it'll do this kind of fun stuff with the multiple heights. But it is one of the functionality and features of the prairie grass. And then the other feature, of course, is do I have a mower? And of course, I'm not going to do it now because it'll take too long because I need to actually run. But if you mow prairie grass, it mows into hay. And that's the big functionality and feature of the prairie grass. This is the rolled state, by the way. So rolled, cut, growth stage 1, growth stage 2, harvest ready. And there's actually a second harvest ready state that it'll go to and get even taller and even more. So if you wait, like grass normally has 4 growth states. For prairie grass, it'll give you an extra growth state, then a 5th growth state, where you actually get even more than you got in the previous one. But you can mow it to the normal amount of output at that 4th growth stage. But if you wait one more month, it'll get a little bit taller and you'll get extra output. Yeah, so useful, yes. And as you can see, here's what it looks like with it not being low res. And this is what the grass looks like not being super low res. This is now the higher res versions. Like this one looks better. This one for some reason is still rendering low res. This one is rendering the high res grass textures. Personally, I think it looks great. I think it gives you that feeling of prairie grass. And I'll have the files ready for download and for other people to use in their maps as soon as possible. So Bruce will get it over to Pillar Boy as soon as possible. But that's the new prairie grass. Pretty awesome, right? Yay. But anyways, I'm going to go back and get that field mowing done and get that sawmill moved, I guess. And maybe we'll come back to it on Tuesday if I can get it done by Tuesday, and we'll see where we go with Big Sky, Big Dreams. Special thank you for everyone who watching. Thank you so much for coming along. Thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. A special thank you to Farmer Mike for the support, the channel support. It means the world to me. Thank you so much. I don't get support through donations very often, and it makes me smile so much every single time. So thank you so much. Special thank you to all our AI members. You guys keep this channel going. This list needs to be updated. I think that it has changed just slightly. But yeah, thank you for everyone. As always, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.